Welcome to the Empty Wagon Fantasy Football Podcast. Brad and Josh gonna break down some quarterbacks. And you stopped the music a little early. Wasn't ready for that, but okay, we're doing it.
It was just so loud this time.
I know. I can turn the volume down.
No, it was just so loud in my ears. I couldn't.
You have volume on your microphone.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
You have a volume control on your microphone
And on my headphones too.
and your headphone. You have volume all over the place.
Yeah.
And you're like, I gotta stop. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it, boys.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. That's just how I roll. It should tell you a lot about this episode. All right, so I'm having a good weekend other than my wife being pretty sick. The Golden Buckets had a good team game yesterday.
Whoop, whoop. Golden buckets. We didn't score a lot of buckets, though.
We did not.
But
our best player focused on his passing game.
Which wasn't, I mean, it was good. But
it was good.
He got happy feet again. That's my son, by the way. He got his happy feet again.
Yes, but it was good. It's always fun.
What's that drill in football you do where you get your feet moving and then they say down, you drop down, you get back up or whatever?
I don't know what it's called, but I remember running it and it sucked.
Yeah, that's what it looked like he was doing. That's what his feet were doing.
Got them happy feet. Oh, the Birmingham Iron are up 9-0, guys.
They scoring touchdowns or these all
field goals?
Okay.
Nick Novak. You remember him?
Yeah.
He's kicking all of them field goals.
Right, was it AAF?
Yeah, dude, the Alliance.
It's not that bad.
It's really not.
The player, there's a lot of like miscues and stuff going on, but it's the first games.
It's the first game, and they just threw this thing together within the last few months, so I wasn't expecting a lot, but it's good. It's really good, man.
They didn't do a preseason or anything, did they?
They had one preseason practice game that wasn't televised or anything.
But that's what I'm saying. So this is pretty much their preseason. Like NFL does like 4 weeks, and it's teams that have been together for a little bit, at least core and stuff. So, they're not bad.
Yeah, they just threw an entire league together.
Yeah, and the referees don't like throwing the flags.
I love that.
They throw like, all right, illegal contact, maybe. I don't think I saw a single holding call in the sand game last night.
The sand game?
Yeah. San Antonio, San Diego.
I like the play clock feature. As soon as the ref placed the ball down, they got 35 seconds to snap it. That's it. So the game, the pace of play is much better for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things about it. The commentating's not bad.
No, it's really
Green,
not.
Right? Trent Green is up.
That was the one last night.
Yeah.
What was this? The safety that played for the Rams forever. Archuleta,
he's doing that? Oh, because he works for CBS.
Yes.
Because he does the NFL games.
Yes, Archuleta. He's doing this game right now for the Birmingham.
Pretty good.
It's not bad, dude. I like the product. I know we could go on about this forever, but Christian Hackenberg still is not good. So in case you guys are wondering about that.
It's football, though. It's football in the offseason, get you through.
I love these uniforms, dude.
Do you think this is going to keep the XFL down?
No, I think the XFL might end up being better than this.
Really?
He learned from his mistakes last time, and I think that he's really trying to get it right.
But his player pool is going to be even smaller with the people that are already...
See, I don't know about that. I mean, you got to think thousands of athletes go to college every year and don't get signed. I mean,
yeah,
I think
eventually it's going to get watered down.
Well, I think both of these leagues are going to create an opportunity for people to have a choice. And what I think they need to do is go out there and get a couple big fish. A Johnny Manziel, a Tim Tebow, maybe?
Yeah.
Big fish. Big fish.
Big fish, the band. Real big fish.
I don't know about that. They got to land a whale, as Magic Johnson would say.
A whale?
Before we get into the show, I want to talk about... so right now it's the offseason. I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't really want to worry about fantasy football right now. But I think what re-sparked my interest is we're doing a dynasty expansion draft right now. And...
Yep, so if I'm a little preoccupied, I'm updating the Excel product for our next part of our draft.
Well, it's just exciting getting back into it, even though the season just ended. I know a lot of people are like, well, I just need a break right now. But I enjoy year-round football. I enjoy having something to do. So dynasty for me has been much more fun than just, your regular redraft leagues. I love the draft. The draft is my favorite part of any league. I love drafting. But after that, it's kind of like you're just managing a team. But being able to manage it in the offseason, make trades, go out and get draft picks, trade for players during the season using some of those draft pick collateral that you have, I absolutely love it. And I'm ready for this expansion to be over so we can start making some more moves because I lost a primo wide receiver.
Yeah, you did.
Yep, lost Devontae Adams in this draft.
And then people kept trying to take players after that.
Lets me know I got a good team.
Just so you know, Eric Ebron was picked once for you again, but I was like, nope.
Nick Chubb
was taken.
Yeah, it was good, though. It let me know that my team's all right. No one wanted to pick from some of the teams that were in there because they're real bad. Real bad. You had the all Achilles team. He had Dez and Demarius and yeah. But anyway, so we're going to start rolling today. We're going to do quarterbacks. I'm pretty excited about this. We're going to try and get as deep as we can into this without getting you guys too bored. But like I said, if you have any questions, and what we're using is Sleeper. We absolutely love Sleeper I love the chat features. It's an amazing app. Giving them a free shout out because why not? What?
Okay. No, we're good.
I love them. I like them way better. If I had to rank them, it would be Sleeper, ESPN,
so
Yahoo.
it's sleeper.app if you try to go to it on the line.
On the line?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so number one quarterback in all of fantasy football, unless there's any news. There wasn't really any news that happened this week.
Alex Collins probably going to get cut. The Ravens are interested in Mark Ingram. What does that make you feel about Mark Ingram if he goes to the Ravens with all those people in the backfield?
Doesn't make me feel good about him at all.
Okay. That really there's not a whole lot. A lot of coaching hires, a lot of assistants getting hired.
Dak Prescott wants to get paid what's deserved.
I don't know what that means.
I think he thinks that he's worth a lot of money. He said he's not going to take a hometown discount like Brady.
Okay.
Do you think he's worth Brady money? Even Brady money. Do you think he's worth that? Which is like, what, $18 million a year? $16 million? I don't think Dak's worth that much.
Well, let's see what this year holds for him.
Jim Bob Cooter got hired.
Yeah, I was going to say Jim Bob. He's running back coach for the Jets?
I'm excited about you got to have a guy like Jim Bob in the league.
I was really hoping they'd have a better year this year. He could have been the head coach of a team. Do you think he ever gets a head coaching job with the name Jim Bob?
No, and he'll never be president either. Bob Stoops is back in the coaching game. He's agreed to coach Dallas's XFL team. Do you care?
Nope.
All right. Kyler Murray has agreed to attend the NFL Combine. Do you care?
A little bit. I mean, if he gets drafted in the very beginning, I want to see if he chooses it over football.
I don't like that football isn't his priority.
What do you mean it's not his priority?
He's wishy-washy. He's a 5'8" quarterback. I'm excited about Kyler Murray, to be honest with you. I understand he can be a very electric player, but keep him. That's what I say. Keep him, baseball. We don't want him. We'll take Drew Lock out of Missouri.
Drew Lock?
Yeah.
Are you?
All right, so number one quarterback in all of fantasy this year was...
You already said it.
We weren't on the air yet. It was Patrick Mahomes. Is anyone surprised by that?
Let me ask the room. Poll the room. No.
No one's surprised. He had an amazing season this year. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, a lot of big games. He was very consistent, incredible. Even ran a couple in. Why not? Throw that for him for good measure. Threw for 50 touchdowns. I don't think that this is where he's going to be next year. I think he's going to fall back down to earth just a little bit. I'm not trying to underestimate him, but it's only happened 3 times in the NFL. People throw for 50 touchdowns. So, yes, he's a deserving MVP, great player. I'm just not expecting that. I'm saying he's probably going to have somewhere around 45-ish next year, which ain't bad.
You keep hating, and he'll keep producing. So as long as you don't like him, I'm back on his train.
Okay, that's fine. Over 5,000 yards passing. What can you say about the guy? I mean, 12 interceptions, that's a little high. I'd like to see that come down. But, I mean, that's just nitpicking, really. All right, so the next guy on the list, I was kind of surprised by this. Now, this is according to fantasy data, so I want to make sure everyone gets that before they were like, what? How did you use this? So, with a more than 50 points separating the number 1 spot and the number 2 spot, Matt Ryan, number 2. From Atlanta, the Falcons. Kind of makes you wonder why they fired their offensive coordinator. Matt Ryan throwing for 4,900 yards and 35 touchdowns. That's pretty good.
Only 7 interceptions.
You know, that's his second highest total of his career, 35 touchdowns. 7 interceptions it ties his career low. He had the highest quarterback rating of second highest quarterback rating of his entire career. The MVP season was his highest. How can you fire the offensive coordinator when your guy was humming?
They had no run game. That's why he threw the ball 608 times. Compare that to Patrick Mahomes, who only threw it 580 times.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the guy, other than Luck and Roethlisberger, this is by far the most in the top 10.
He had a couple of. He had 3 rushing touchdowns. He only had one real dud game. It was week 5 against Pittsburgh. That one, and then he had another one. Well, I guess he had 3. Excuse me. So Dallas, week 11, and then Baltimore, which a lot of people struggle against Baltimore this year, so that's not very surprising. But for the most part, Matt Ryan was pretty consistent this year. Pretty good quarterback. Where do you think he's going to fall next year?
Matt Ryan, I think he'll be maybe a top 10 quarterback taken when we look at drafts. Like he'll be, one of the top 10 quarterbacks. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers will probably go still before him. Your Russell Wilsons, all those, guys that are always up there. Brady will probably still go before him. Luck will go before him. Breeze.
Now, do you see Matt Ryan exploding next year because he's got a new offensive coordinator?
With Dirk?
Dirk Cutter.
Good old Dirk Cutter. If that defense stays bad, yeah.
You see him playing well?
Playing well again, yeah. I don't see too much of a fall off. Do I see him being the number 2 quarterback? No, but top 5 wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, very nice.
At the end of the year.
Very nice. Very nice.
At the end of the year. He might be one of those guys that has those games where you're like, okay, cool. Because did he have blow-up games or were they just all really consistent games? Do you have it up right now?
So he had a couple blow-up games.
When Julio went off?
He had 4 dud games, but he had a 30-point game, a 40-point game, 28 points, another 28-point game, and a 25-point game. Those were his top 5 high games, but he had some decent games in there. A lot of 20-point game, 19 points. Yeah, not a bad season. A couple of 20-point games, 25, 19 again. Yeah, I mean, Matt Ryan was pretty good. He had 4 bad games, and most of the time you can live with that because he won you some weeks.
Okay.
Now, the next guy coming up, Big Ben Roethlisberger.
So I made a comment about Matt Ryan throwing for 608 times. Big Ben threw the ball 675 times.
Is that a lot? I don't know. Tell me. Is that a lot?
It's almost 100 more than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, he threw 16 interceptions too, so there's that. He did have – that was the most fantasy points of his entire career that he's ever had. So do you see that continuing? He averaged 21 fantasy points per game.
Well, Le'Veon Bell won't be there next year, right? We can pretty much say that with confidence.
Yes.
And James Conner, as good as he was, I don't think he's Le'Veon Bell.
No, he's absolutely not.
And I don't think James Conner demands the ball like Le'Veon Bell does, where you have to feed him the ball 20 to 30 times a game. So Big Ben will throw the ball 40 times a game a lot of times.
I'm really expecting Big Ben's value really comes down to whether or not Antonio Brown's on the team next year. I know we've talked about this a lot, but to throw the ball that many times and then almost half of his touchdowns, he had 34 touchdowns, 15 of them went to Antonio Brown. So you're talking about almost half of them going to one guy. That's a substantial amount. He did have 3 rushing touchdowns himself. He was no slouch this year, but I just have to think that if James Conner stays healthy, they're going to try and get him incorporated a little bit more. And if Antonio Brown's not there, Juju is great, don't get me wrong. But James Washington is not ready to be a number 2 yet, I don't think.
All right, kind of off subject real quick because I'm getting this stuff together for our draft. And I got my buddy who lives in San Diego, I got his people that he wants to put out there for the draft pool. And all he said was T.Y. He has T.Y. Hilton, and he's also got Ty Montgomery. But should I put T.Y. Hilton?
Considering that was one of his protected players,
you don't think so?
I probably wouldn't go down that road.
Okay. He did put Shady in there, though.
That's fine. Shady could be a good gap filler here.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's kind of surprising that he put him in there as his bottom 7. But
hey, everyone's got their own deal. I'm excited to lose some more players.
All right.
We're doing 3 from that one, right?
Yes.
So this was an ingenious method that Brad came up with to do our expansion draft. We're expanding from 10 to 12 teams. We all protected 3 players initially. Everyone had their own 3 that they protected, whatever. And then we allowed the 2 expansion teams to do a snake draft with one another. And basically they picked 1 player from every team until they both had 5 players. And so basically they got 5 fourth-round draft picks. And then what happened after that is now we're doing a second part to this expansion, and we're all putting out – the original 10 teams are putting out 7 players, only allowing 1 defense and 1 kicker. They're putting out 7 players for the 2 expansion teams to do another draft with, and this will continue to snake. So it's basically the same – it's an extension of the original draft, but I think it was a really ingenious method until we all have 20 players on a roster. So we're actually going to lower our roster size a little bit. We went more from 24 to 20, and it was a really creative and smart idea, Brad.
Because, okay, this year in our dynasty, it made it really great because 2 weeks ago left in the season, the fantasy season, everybody had a shot at the playoffs. No team was mathematically eliminated.
Yes.
So if you could be in second place and if you lost your next 2 games, you could have been out of the playoffs. That's how crazy and how tight our league was this year. And I wanted to keep that consistent because I'm in some dynasty leagues right now where I took over some teams and they're trash. And like, there's no chance that I have of winning it. And I knew that, but I like the consistency of it. We had a guy who, 3 weeks before the playoffs started, people said he had no shot at the championship and he almost beat you in the championship game.
Yeah. Came pretty close. So I think you can't never give up, and this was really closely. I think that's one of the best times to do it, is if your league is very competitive. Most of the teams are roughly the same as far as, how they're competing. I think that's the best time to do an expansion. I think it's
and you got to look at everybody's teams, and I know you and Rob were really upset because I don't want to lose a lot of players, but it made it fair that everybody lost their 4th or 5th best player depending on what they took. And you didn't get to tell them what to take. You just said which 3 you saved, and if they took somebody else, like I was talking to my buddy Evans, who's like, I was really hoping somebody take Gronk. I left him out there, dangle him out there, hoping somebody grab him.
And no one took him.
No, they took Russell Wilson off his team instead. But
over Gronk, that shows you, because Gronk might retire. We don't even know what's going to happen with that yet. But we wanted to do it this early too because we really like the aspect of moving and shaking with your dynasty rosters and actually managing that team throughout the offseason. And we've locked everyone's rosters so they can't do that right now. So, yeah, it's not good. I don't know what you got it all set. Nice, dude. He's showing me his Excel skills. He's very proud of it. All right, let's get back on this.
All right, let's get back to the quarterbacks. We just talked about Big Ben. I don't think there's really much to add with Big Ben. It is Big Ben. Yeah.
So now we're going to drop down to our number 4 quarterback, and he actually has, out of the top 7 quarterbacks, the least amount of passing yards. But he also has the most amount of rushing yards and the most rushing touchdowns out of the guys that we're going to talk about in the top 7 so far. So that's important to note. He also had the second most touchdowns thrown. So he threw for a lot of touchdowns. Oh no, that was Andrew Luck, my bad. He didn't throw for nearly as many touchdowns, 26 for Deshaun Watson, but he made up a lot of that with his legs. 4,165 yards. He had a 103 QB rating. He ran the ball. He had a 5.6 yard average per carry, 20.7 fantasy points per game. It wasn't as explosive as his rookie season in those 7 games that he played there, but he still had a pretty good season, Brad.
Yeah, no, he had a great season. I mean, I think if you were expecting what he did his rookie year, you were a little delusional because those 6 games were ridiculous.
Absolutely.
So he was coming off that knee injury. You love seeing the rushing yards, right? Because that's what everybody was worried about coming off. I think this is like his 2nd or 3rd knee injury.
Yeah.
So, everybody was worried, are they going to let him run? Is he going to run? Will he be as aggressive? And he still was aggressive in the running the ball. Helps when you have Nuke Hopkins. I really would have liked to see one of his numbers have been like Will Fuller, healthy all year too. I think if him and Will Fuller and Nuke Hopkins can all stay on the field together, I think you can see some really good things out of this offense.
Yeah, he had 5 dud games. He didn't have quite the huge 40-point game that Matt Ryan had, but he still had a few games over 30 points, and he stuck around 20 points for most of the season. So if you had him, you were very happy. He performed very well in championship week with 36 points. I mean, not a lot of bad things to say about Deshaun Watson, except you'd like to see him keep his entire core of receivers. They struggle with that. Will Fuller was out. Kiki Cutie was in and out. Demaryius Thomas came over late. He wasn't a huge help to the team. So
He got a couple of those touchdowns, though.
He did. But I'll be interested to see how they retool this receiving core in the offseason because basically they have Nuke and just a bunch of other guys.
There's a lot of teams that wish they had that, though.
Oh, yeah, you would love to have Nuke. You're not going to complain about that.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, but if Will Fuller could stay healthy, I mean, it really does change this offense.
Yeah, he's that deep threat because Kiki's not that deep threat.
No.
He's good, but he's not. Doesn't have that speed that Will Fuller has.
But Will Fuller just cannot stay healthy, man.
Well, when you're in that fast, he's literally running outside his legs.
No, he's not Bo Jackson fast or powerful. We're popping his head out of socket.
Yeah, but that's Deshaun Watson. And by the way, I think we mentioned this. I can't remember. This is 4 point per touchdown passing. If you change to 6 point per touchdown passing, he falls down a couple spots. But with those running numbers, it gives you a safe floor with Deshaun Watson. Andrew Luck, probably the biggest question mark coming into the season at number 5. Even early in the year, like he was doing good, and it was great Andrew Luck things, but it was still questionable. Like, is this really Andrew Luck? I don't think there's any questions anymore about Andrew Luck's arm. Do you have any questions about his arms?
No, and considering he was the 8th quarterback taken as far as ADP goes, you got a pretty good deal on Andy Luck.
Yeah.
You got a deep discount. Because he went...
Because I took him really late in our Dynasty League.
83rd overall. That's pretty good for a guy who ended up as a top 5 quarterback. Can't complain about that. Whereas Deshaun Watson was drafted 2nd overall as far as quarterbacks go, and he didn't really live up to that. He had a good season, but, I mean, when you look at the guys that got drafted above Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers, nope. Deshaun Watson, okay. Tom Brady did not finish above him. Russell Wilson, no. Drew Brees, no. Cam Newton, no. Kirk Cousins, no. Andrew Luck, so there was one guy that finished above him and the people who were drafted above him. And you got to be pretty excited about that.
And he's also the first quarterback we're bringing up with no rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
So everybody else has at least 2 rushing touchdowns in the top 10, except for actually Russell Wilson doesn't have any rushing touchdowns, but he's got the yards.
He was too
Andrew Luck doesn't have any rushing touchdowns, and he's up here at number 5, just off straight up arm strength.
Well, yeah. And people were sitting there saying that, they were concerned about his shoulder. He looked fine to me. Eric Ebron thought it was fine. So, can't really complain about that, dude.
And Ebron's going to be there for a while. Jack Doyle's going to be there. T.Y.'s going to be there.
Yes, and I think this team's only going to get better. Once they find another receiver to go pair along with T.Y.
And they have good running backs that can catch the ball, too, which help out.
Absolutely.
And they protected Andrew Luck. Like, that was the thing, too. Like, we've never seen him with this much protection.
They really invested in the offensive line in the draft, and they got some great starters who contributed to the team right away, and it showed this year. It really did.
Do you think they still run passing routes for Andrew Luck and all these stupid plays to get him killed? Because there was about a 3-week stretch where they just got him, like, leveled. They ran that trick play where he ran out and, like, well, I'm going to try to catch the ball, and he got killed.
I hope not. I really hope not. Yeah. Andy Luck, though, I mean, great value here. We'll move on to the next guy. Aaron Rodgers finished 6th, but did it feel like that?
No, and the biggest reason he finished 6th is only 2 interceptions.
That'll help your cause.
Like, that's why he's there. He only had 25 touchdowns, but only 2 interceptions, so the negative points weren't there. He was hurt all year, so maybe that has something to do with it. A little bit.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, he had that knee injury, right? We saw him go out in the Chicago game at the very beginning. He let him back.
What really boosted his stock was week 16. He had the 42.88 point game against the Jets. And that made him look like, oh my gosh, it made him look amazing. He threw for 442 yards in that game. But he threw the ball 55 times in that game. And this was what you were hoping you were going to get with Aaron Rodgers, and you didn't get it all year. So kind of a disappointment. You just goes to show you cannot invest in quarterbacks early. People keep doing it, and I love it when they do it because it opens up another spot for me in the draft to take a player I want. But it's just a bad idea.
Because he was the number 1 quarterback taken, right? What was his ADP? 3rd round, 4th round?
30. So 30th overall, which is 3rd round.
And Deshaun Watson was like 4th or 5th round.
46th overall.
And of all the guys we're talking about, they're the only ones in the top, right?
They're the only ones that we've talked about so far in the top 6, yes.
Yeah. And that's what we're saying. Like, Patrick Mahomes was super late. Nobody expected this. Obviously, he'll probably go in the 2nd round.
He was 15th quarterback off the board.
Yeah.
Drafted 119th overall.
And this is what we mean when, like, you can take a quarterback late.
Absolutely. Whenever you have a guy like him doing pretty well, and then you have another guy like Dak had an okay season. Jared Goff, 16th overall.
Yeah, and that's the next guy. So let's just segue over there.
Okay.
Jared Goff.
It's a segue.
What?
It's a segue. Crushed it. All right, Goff. Goff, I think the numbers could have been so much better had Cooper Kupp stayed healthy and he'd not just crap the bed towards the end of the season. I mean, week 13, 8 points. Week 14 against Chicago, negative 0.3 points. Philly, 10 points. Arizona, okay, 17 points again in week 16. Even against Arizona, you should have gotten more out of him, but my goodness, man.
Even with him being the 7th quarterback overall, do you think that he's going to fall in drafts because of what happened in the Super Bowl?
I sure hope so.
I mean, would you be fine taking him in your 9th, 10th round?
Yeah.
As your first quarterback, your only quarterback?
Not my only quarterback.
I mean, your only quarterback that you might draft.
Yeah.
Because you're probably only drafting one.
No, I feel really good about it because he's got Sean McVay.
Yeah, and while the weather's nice, and it's always nice in L.A., you don't have to worry about cold weather when they're playing over in L.A.
It's true. I mean, they're going to go back to Mexico. They're going to try to play there this year, so it'll be nice and warm.
Didn't work out last time, so we'll see how it goes this time.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Jared Goff is going to be a fine option. If you had him for most of the year, excluding the playoffs when you really needed him, you were pretty happy with his production all season. He won you some weeks. I know in our league, he definitely won the guy who had him all year. He won him quite a few weeks. So. Yeah.
And it always helps when you can dump it off Todd Gurley, who can take it 70 yards to the house.
Yeah, but it doesn't help when you don't use Todd Gurley.
Hey.
Everyone so far has had over at least 4,000 passing yards. This next guy does not.
Is that surprising? Like if you weren't looking at the numbers and I told you, out of the top 10, tell me which guys don't have 4,000 passing yards. Dak wouldn't be surprised. Like you would say, okay, Dak. You'd say Russell Wilson. But would you have said Drew Brees?
No, considering this is the first time he hasn't had 4,000 yards since 2005. And he wasn't even playing for New Orleans at that point.
He was a Charger.
Yes. So that is very telling.
He did set out the last game of the season. He did miss a game. He only played 15 games.
Okay.
So, and he's only 8 yards shy of it. So if he would have played 16 games, he would have got 4,000 yards.
Okay, but this was 300 yards shorter than what his next highest total was since he's played for New Orleans.
Yeah, but he could have got 300 yards if he played the last game of the season.
Well, he's played 15 games in 2015. He had 4,800 yards.
Okay.
I'm just telling you that this is a clear focus that they're going to aim towards the run. And
even if Mark Ingram's gone next year, do you think that's true?
Yeah, I think they're still going to focus on the run. They're going to bring in another guy. Mark Ingram, a Chris Ivory type guy, someone like that who's going to end up trying to be the short yardage back while Alvin Kamara can still go out there and catch passes and things like that. I don't see him being the only guy in the backfield. He might be the best guy in the backfield, but I don't think he's going to be the only guy. Drew Brees, he had a high completion percentage, man. It was the highest of his career, 74%. That's amazing. Michael Thomas caught most of those passes. I say most of them, but he caught a huge chunk of them. Drew Brees, he had a pretty good year, but there were some weeks when he just absolutely crushed you. Week 4 against the Giants, you thought, wow, how against the Giants? Minnesota, I can see that a little bit, but Dallas crushed you. In week 13, 14 against Tampa, 15 against Carolina. He just had awful weeks, man. And I don't feel confident taking Drew Brees going forward. I think that there are other guys out there I feel better about.
Okay. I mean, I understand that. That all makes sense.
All right. Moving on to the next guy, Russell Wilson. I'm going to let you talk about him, considering we took him together in a podcast league and you told me he will be the number 1 quarterback at the end of the year. So go ahead.
So I want to know his numbers at the second half of the year.
Go ahead.
They were really good in the second half of the year. Pull them up for me because my computer's acting really wonky and I can't get any numbers.
Okay, so second half of the year. So we're talking weeks 9 through 17. Yeah. 19 points, 26, 17, 21, 24, 8.9, 18, 28, and then week 17 against Arizona, 7.
Yeah, but who cares about that week, right?
I mean, I care.
So the second half of the year wasn't bad. He's like one of those old diesel engines, right? It takes a while for him to get warmed up, right? He starts off really slow. And they are a run-first team. And like we've talked about multiple times in this, he was one of the most efficient quarterbacks. He didn't complete 300 passes this year. He only had 280 completions.
Not good.
And no rushing touchdowns. And he wasn't running the ball in the year either.
One game over 300 yards.
Yeah.
One.
But he still had 35 touchdowns.
That will not happen. He cannot continue to be this efficient.
Just so you know, he had the exact same touchdown interception numbers as Matt Ryan.
He actually threw for more touchdowns this year than he did last year, and he attempted 125 less attempts. He had 125 less attempts.
Yeah. So I have no idea because his efficiency numbers are ridiculous, and this can't keep up. Do you think this has a little bit to do with the Doug Baldwin injury, though?
A little bit with that, and a little bit of the new offensive coordinator's philosophy. I think
run
that
first.
Yeah, they wanted to be a run-first team, and this really did take a lot of pressure off of Russell Wilson.
They have a really young defense. This is the first time they've had this young of a defense, and I think they're trying to do what Dallas did a couple years ago when they first got Zeke, which is control time of possession, keep your defense off the field, so when they're on the field, they can try to make you a couple plays and not lose the game for you.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson, he was better than a game manager. I'm not going to call him a game manager because he still had 35 touchdowns. You don't do that as a game manager. He would have been somewhere around, his 2014 season, we had 20, but I am just not buying into this hype that he'll finish in this way again as a top 10 quarterback next year.
Okay. I mean, I agree. Sort of. I still think he'll be in the top 10 of quarterbacks. He'll still be always right there.
Okay.
I could see him going above guys like Jared Goff, possibly even Drew Brees if they go to a run-first offense and they don't get another wide receiver there. Because we saw at the end of the year, everybody knew what to do with New Orleans.
Yeah.
Blanket, Michael Thomas, and make the running backs beat you.
That's true. Our next guy was kind of a surprise entrant for me. I did not know that Dak was a 10th overall quarterback.
So is that all after Amari got there, though?
I think that had a lot to do with it, but I don't think it was all Amari. Dak, let's pull up the numbers. Let's see what Dak had going for him. Okay, it was mostly after Amari got there.
That's what I was thinking.
He had that big breakout game against Jacksonville, and then after that, Dak just wasn't consistent, man. He had a 29 and a 20-point game, 14. And then he had 21, 14, 27, 14, 24, 6, 16, 33. That 33, whenever they were playing against the Giants, didn't even matter. So that kind of boosted him up the pole a little bit. That was his best game of the season. It wasn't Amari's best game of the season. But I'm just not... I like what Dak brings to the table as far as his athleticism and stuff, but I'm not willing to take him over a Phillip Rivers or a Cam Newton or even a Tom Brady, to be honest with you. What about you?
Well, I mean, Cam, next year, I have no idea about Cam. We'll get into that here in a minute.
He's the best.
I love Phillip Rivers. Dak Prescott does have some wheels on him. 6 rushing touchdowns. I mean, that's why he's up here in the top 10. There's 6 rushing touchdowns.
Doesn't hurt.
That's why. That's why he's here. It was the 6 rushing touchdowns that he stole from Zeke Elliott. Poo-poo on you, Dak Prescott. Poo-poo on you.
And he did have 526 attempts, which
for a run-first team is a lot.
Yeah, it's more than Russell Wilson, more than Drew Brees.
More than Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I mean, Dak, he did okay. He had a pretty good season. I'm not going to knock him too much, but I don't
see him staying in the top 10.
No.
I mean, like you said, Kirk Cousins, maybe Brady, Trubisky, who we're going to get into in a little bit. Let's speed this up a little bit. Let's go Phillip Rivers. Let's just talk about Phillip Rivers really fast.
Great season. Pretty consistent for the most part. He had a couple dud games there towards the end. Championship week really hurt you.
His interception numbers went up.
They did.
Because beginning of the year, he has like hardly interceptions, and then towards the end of the year, he started. But those are the Melvin Gordon injury games, right? 15,
16, 17. He had 2 interceptions per game. Yeah. But in those times, he did play Baltimore and Denver. Pretty good defenses. The Kansas City game was an anomaly. It was more or less him trying to keep up with the scoring. And
that was also Melvin Gordon was out, right?
Melvin Gordon, no, week 15 he played. No, he was out.
He went out. He played for a little bit and he went out, didn't he? Or I can't remember if
he wasn't 100%.
No, that's Keenan Allen was out. That's the one that went
Yes, that was the one where Keenan Allen was out. He still threw for 300 yards.
Yeah, that was the Mike Williams game. So with the emergence of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, if he's healthy, I like the weapons he's got there. Healthy Melvin Gordon. There's a lot of good things about Phillip Rivers. The only thing is how much longer does he play?
Well, And far as redraft goes, I would love to have Phillip Rivers as my quarterback. I think you'd be happy with that.
And I think you still get him late.
Oh, absolutely. Him. This next guy I wouldn't be as happy to have, but you'd still take him late. Kirk Cousins.
Oh, Kirk Cousins next in yours?
Yep, Kirk Cousins. I went PPR
Oh, okay.
because we play in PPR.
Okay.
All right, so Kirk Cousins, he had some pretty good weeks here, but he kind of tailed off towards the end of the season. Weeks 13 through 15, 8 points, 10 points, 15 points. These are leading up to the playoffs or in the playoffs, and when you really needed him, and he did not deliver. He didn't deliver for his own team. He definitely wasn't going to deliver for you.
Kirk Cousins must have caught a pass. Sorry. I'm just,
No, that's fine. That's fine. He had a bad game against Detroit in week 9. That was the Thanksgiving week. He was really hot at the beginning of the season outside of that Buffalo game, which was a complete anomaly. I remember starting Buffalo's defense and being like, Minnesota's defense. I'm like, what the heck happened here?
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris Berman taught me that when I was very, very young.
Yes. Okay. But he did what he does. He plays good against bad defenses for the most part, and then he plays poorly against the better ones. I mean, that's been Kirk Cousins' MO his entire career, and I don't expect that to change. He is a QB2 or a borderline QB1. That's who he is.
Yeah. I mean, he's just one of those guys. We'll see with new offensive coordinator coming in there, how they're going to work out, how it's going to work out.
Yeah.
If they get the run game going, which will take some of that pressure off Kirk Cousins.
So next guy we're talking about, he did miss 2 games because of injury, and there was another one where he went out. Cam Newton, they shut him down.
Do you think he plays this year?
I think he's going to play.
I mean, he just had surgery.
He's going to play. They said that everything was going well.
Yeah, remember they said that with Andrew Luck.
Okay, I'm just telling you, dude.
I would be very cautious about Cam Newton.
Yes, absolutely. There was some things that really went haywire here. You got to understand, he had 67.9% of his passes. Before that point, he had never completed more than 61% of his passes.
Because they were all short passes.
They were all short passes. He didn't have anyone deep.
Even if he did, they weren't going deep because he couldn't get it down there.
Because he was getting killed.
It wasn't that. It was that his shoulder was jacked up all year.
He's fine. He still ran for 488 yards. He only got you 4 rushing touchdowns, but that's where a lot of Cam Newton's points have come. They've always come from that. I think if you're going to get him late, you're going to be happy with it for the most part. But if you're worried about that injury, I completely understand. He did tail off down the stretch, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Those weeks, he never cracked more than 10 points. So I completely understand, but some of that started to be the injury really lingering on him, man. Really started to weigh on him. Before that, Cam Newton was hot.
He was
hot.
So next year on drafting, you have to pick between these 2 quarterbacks. Which would you take, Cam Newton or Tom Brady?
Brady.
Even though Brady's behind him, Brady played all 16 games. Really has no deep threat weapons. His weapons are James White, Julian Edelman.
It's still you don't bet against Tom Brady.
In fantasy, you do. But give me his playoff numbers.
Okay, well, since we're talking about that, we'll step into our next guy, Tom Brady.
That's why I was trying to segue over. Cause
playoffs, week 14, 26 points against Miami.
Okay.
15, 13 points.
Yeah.
And then championship week against Buffalo, 5. You heard that right. That's 5 points. He had
that won you a championship. Because the guy you played Tom Brady.
Oh, yeah. Didn't hurt me. Yeah. That's the way that cookie crumbled there. But Tom Brady, for the most part, he had quite a few 20-point weeks. He was an average quarterback as far as fantasy goes.
Yeah, and it shows with the number 14. He's a QB2, but he was taken as the QB2 or 3 this year.
Hey, dude, he's got over 1,000 rushing yards, okay?
He does.
He
does. But
let's not knock that, all right, bud?
I want nothing to do with Tom Brady next year.
You don't want anything to do with him?
No, I would rather. There's so many other guys on this list.
So you'd rather have Cam Newton?
I would. Well, I guess if I have to pick between the 2, I'm probably taking Tom Brady.
See, that's what I'm talking about. I got him to agree with me. So you'd rather have our next guy, Mitchell Trubisky?
Yeah, I'd rather have 5 6 of the next 7 guys.
Okay. So Mitchell Trubisky finished right after Tom Brady, despite missing quite a few games, actually. He only played in 14, and he was ineffective in a few of those where, like the Rams game, 4 points in that game. Very ineffective. Ineffective against Buffalo.
Yeah, but that Rams game, wasn't that the one they were blowing them out? Like, super easy. The defense is all over the Rams, and the Rams play like crap, so he didn't have to do anything.
No, he threw 3 interceptions in that game.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. He played very poorly. That was actually one of the worst games of the season. He actually had a bad game against New England statistically, but he still scored 31 points because
them legs.
He ran for a touchdown, ran for 81 yards, threw 2 touchdowns. He had a great game. They had the Tampa game, which really boosted him up there. Mitchell Trubisky, more of a game manager. He had 2 huge games, 43-point and a 36-point game. So let's not get too excited about Mitchell Trubisky, but I would still think I would like to have Tom Brady over Mitchell Trubisky.
He played 2 less games than Tom Brady and was only 20 points behind him.
Because he had 2 big games. I just said that.
Yeah, but
without those 2 big games, I don't think he's better than Tom
Brady. But he played in
Brady.
those 2 big games.
Yes. It's a fact. All right. You want to talk about the next guy?
Baker. All right.
Love Baker.
So we had the Baker with Hugh Jackson and the Baker post Hugh Jackson.
There is a difference, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So how do you feel about Freddie Kitchens being the head coach for Baker Mayfield now?
I love it.
And with the emergence of Nick Chubb.
Oh, man, I totally love it. I think they're going to go out there. They're going to get another receiver opposite of Jarvis Landry. They tried to have that with Josh Gordon, Jarvis Landry. Didn't quite work out. But once they get him a second wide receiver, he has another year in that offense. That tight end, David Njoku, is a great tight end. Nick Chubb, great running back. They have a good young team. I'm expecting Baker possibly be a QB1 next year, bud. QB1.
It could be. I still think they're going to be a rely on defense, run the ball team.
QB1.
He'll need to be like Russell Wilson-ish numbers to be a QB1 because I don't think he'll have the attempts.
He does play in a very tough division, too. I mean, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and
Cincinnati
are in that division. And those teams, Cincinnati might not get better, but we'll see about. Pittsburgh is definitely going to step up their game, and Baltimore is going to be better next year.
All right. I want to get to these next 4 guys really quick because I don't think we have a lot to say about them. It's Eli, Derek Carr, Case Keenum, and Matthew Stafford.
Gross. They're all gross.
They all played 16 games. They all average you 13 points a game, except for Eli, who averaged you 15, but
who cares?
I don't think you really want to. Do you want any part of any of those guys next year?
Matthew Stafford.
Even without Golden Tate there? And we saw what that team is.
I will.
They're going to be a run-first team with Carry-On being healthy.
I will still take Matthew Stafford, yes.
Okay. And I guess reports are that the Broncos are going to stick with Case Keenum next year.
They're interested in dumping him?
No, they're going to keep him next year.
Yeah, I mean,
at least one more year.
Because it would cost them $10 million just to dump him. So why not keep him?
Elway don't care. Elway got some money under the table to him to stay there in Denver back in the day. So
yeah, you're probably right.
No, I'm not. I know I'm right. The reports are out there.
Yeah.
And then Derek Carr. Nobody wants anything with Derek Carr, right? I don't even think the Raiders want Derek Carr anymore.
No, I don't think they do either. Now, there's this guy I want to get to. He didn't play all 16 games because of suspension and bouncing back. But I do want to talk about Jameis Winston for a moment and Carson Wentz. I'm looking at this list, and these are the guys who really strike my interest. How do you feel about Jameis Winston as a fantasy quarterback next year in the Bruce Arians offense?
Bruce Arians? I love it.
Okay.
Bruce Arians is going to simplify it, make it so he can be successful.
Because he needs to simplify it.
Yes.
Because Jameis is stupid.
Not stupid. He's just blind.
He's stupid.
I don't think he's stupid.
I think he's very stupid.
Okay.
I think he's talented, but I think he's stupid. Carson Wentz, I don't know if I like him, to be honest with you. He's had the injury issues. He didn't play great this year.
They said the back thing might be a chronic injury, too.
Going to look real foolish when they dump old Nick.
Yeah, well, Nick already bought himself out. They signed him, and he bought out.
They could still tag him. They can still tag him.
That would cost them, I think, $25 million.
They can still do it.
Yeah.
Ask Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
About that tag.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think Jameis Winston will be good next year. Like, he only played 11 games. And those 4 guys we talked before averaged like 13 points a game. He averaged 17 points a game. Another guy I wanted to bring up was Josh Allen.
Okay.
We didn't see a lot. I mean, he doesn't have any weapons there at all, right?
You mean Zay Jones? Robert Foster?
Kelvin Benjamin?
Well, they traded Kelvin Benjamin.
Well, I mean, they had him for a little bit.
And he was a big part of Kansas City's offense. Oh, no, they didn't trade him. They cut him.
Yeah.
Big part of that offense.
So, Josh Allen, second year system, if they can get him another weapon maybe.
I think he's Cam Newton light.
Yeah, he did have 8 rushing touchdowns.
Don't hurt.
I honestly think he's better than Cam Newton. Because Cam Newton's rushing yards were always short yards rushing. Josh Allen's going for the big ones. He's leaping over linebackers.
I expect him. I mean, he threw for 2,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He did, like you said, he didn't have a great supporting cast. LaShawn McCoy struggled mightily this year.
But he's strong armed, like Patty Mahomes.
Yeah, he's got a cannon, but I don't think he's better than Cam Newton. I think defenses, now that they have a year's worth of tape, they always adjust. So we talked about this before. Cam Newton came out rookie year, set the world on fire, struggled the next season. Deshaun Watson struggled this season. I mean, defenses will adjust to what these guys are doing. I think the only guy you can't adjust to is probably maybe Patrick Mahomes.
You'd rather have him over Lamar Jackson next year, though, right? They're both going to be starters.
Yeah, I would rather have him over Lamar Jackson.
I mean, Lamar Jackson's got better weapons.
But he's going to be on my team for maybe like a bye week, Josh Allen. He's not going to be my starter.
The bye week filler. That's what we're talking about, these guys down in the 20s. Unless you're in a super deep or 2 QB league, like, yeah.
I would much rather have him as my QB2 than Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
But, yeah. I think that's about it, bud.
Does Bortles have a team next year?
I sure hope not.
Oh.
He'll be a backup somewhere.
Well, would you be surprised if...
He lands in Washington?
No, if Jacksonville traded a pick for Derek Carr?
I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if Oakland accepted it. They're still Oakland right now.
Yeah, well, they were trying to be San Francisco. That fell through.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Tight ends next week, baby.
We love you guys. Hit us up on Twitter at EmptyWagonFF, Instagram at EmptyWagonPod. You can hit Brad up at TagJones or me at JoshHughesFF. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in next week. Tight ends. It's going to be so much fun, and we'll keep you guys involved in what's going on with our Dynasty League. Let you know how that turns out. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Later.